Guys, I might have jumped the gun a little bit earlier with my excitement for the newly announced Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. I honestly could not hit the buy it now button sooner. I was that excited to play the game. I just got done after a 9-hour session of this game today, and I want to give some people my initial impressions of this game. And I'm really torn, I gotta be honest about it. Now, I'm not entirely sure if this will affect a lot of people's decision with actually picking up the game, but I do have to say I'm more disappointed than happy with what I've played so far of the game. Why am I disappointed, you might ask? I'll try to explain myself as best as I can here without taking up too much time of people's, but at the end of the day, this game is not, I think, what was advertised from the original trailer. The trailer told us what we were getting was Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, and I honestly, when I seen that trailer, I thought it was actually going to be the original Ninja Gaiden 2 as a remaster, like the original game with newly added elements from maybe Sigma 2, but overall it was like the original game that was released for the 360, like remastered. Unfortunately, that is no the case here. This is actually what I would call, I honestly think they should change the name of the game. It's actually like Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2 Black. That's what it is. They've completely got rid of the Sigma title in this version of the game, when I would honestly say this game so far is a lot more like Sigma 2 rather than the original Ninja Gaiden 2, and that is really unfortunate. There is actually quite a lot of differences when it comes to the original Ninja Gaiden 2 versus Sigma 2. Some of the things are actually enemy placements, for example, and, the amount of enemies that are actually in the game. Difficulty as well is also a factor, and, like the original Ninja Gaiden 2 always kind of has you doing something, which I think is really amazing for a hack and slash game. It's always got you on your toes, you're always on the offense, you're always on the defense, it's like you're always thinking about what's the best outcome to do next, and it's really satisfying getting past every single segment in the game. Don't get me wrong, nothing's perfect about the original Ninja Gaiden 2, but the hack and slash sections of the game and all that are just done incredibly well as far as I'm concerned, and I feel like Sigma 2, like the best way to explain that game is kind of like, it's a game that takes place in the same environments as Ninja Gaiden 2, but is very much no the same. It's kind of like trying to copy it, but it doesn't really work. Because some segments are just missing enemies entirely, which I think completely like ruin the pacing of a hack and slash game as far as I'm concerned. And the difficulty is nerfed in the game, when it's one of the best hack and slash games ever made, the Ninja Gaiden series as far as I'm concerned, and I do think the Sigma version is a complete downgrade, and it's such a shame that this version of the game chose to copy that more than the original. Now, it's not just difficulty that's different in this version of the game. Like, it's no like we're just someone who's like going about the elitist side of it. A lot of people get called like elitist Ninja Gaiden 2 enjoyers over the Sigma 2 enjoyers. That's not what it is. There's also stuff like atmosphere that's completely different in this version of the game that's been copied from Sigma 2 as well. The second level, for example, which is when I knew something was really off, was that level takes place in broad daylight in this version of the game, which just is a completely different atmosphere for that level entirely. When in the original game it takes place at night time, which is a much better tone for the level in my opinion. Another level that I really enjoy in the original is the Lycan level, when the atmosphere changes, and that also takes place at night time in some parts of the level. But in this version of the game, it doesn't really look right because it's got like a light sky. It just feels completely off. Like I say, in the original game, it's not just difficulty that's changed, a lot of atmosphere is completely different for the game too, and I definitely feel like the vibe gets ruined with the Sigma 2 changes that are still in Black 2 here, which is, I think, unfortunate, man. One thing that is pretty good about this remaster, though, is they have brung along the gore that was in the original Ninja Gaiden 2 that everybody loves. But I do feel like there was a little bit too much emphasis on the gore from like the mainstream audience when it comes to Ninja Gaiden 2. As much as I love it and it absolutely adds to the spectacle, like I say, it's not the main problems of like Sigma 2. Like you can't just add gore and everything's fixed, which it kind of feels like that's actually what they've done here, if you try and get what I mean. Because the mainstream audience are just like, oh, what's the main thing that Ninja Gaiden Sigma is missing? Oh, is it gore? Just add it back in and then problem solved. I don't think it's really that simple when you actually compare all the two games side by side. But I am absolutely over the moon the gore is back in. Do I still think it looks better in the original versus this new remaster? I think so. And I think that's mostly down to the new graphics engine, if I was being honest, even though I still like it in the new re-release. You know, the new graphics are okay. Yeah, they take some getting used to. And it took me a fair bit to be like, okay, I'm digging these new graphics now, you know. Do I still like the originals? Absolutely, because they're a little bit more like cartoonish in some areas, and I quite like that vibe in the original. Whereas this one feels like it's a lot more realistic looking. That's the impression that I get from these graphics, the new graphics anyway. There is some problems with the new graphics engine as far as I'm concerned. I've seen some problems with the lighting, and I don't know if everything is intentional. Like on the Lycan level, there's some parts of the game where there's different color palettes for the enemies, and it is very hard to tell when you're running into these different color palette of enemies, because the graphics engine is kind of like getting in the way and muddying the game up a little bit. And I do think the graphics engine makes it the whole game look a bit darker, a bit more darker than it's intended to be, and that makes it a wee bit more hard to see in the game, and I don't think it's something as simple as turning up brightness would fix. I'm not entirely sure if the game does need a little bit of extra tweaking, but I thought it was just something I would mention. But overall, I do quite like the remastered graphics. It's a shame there's no like an option to change between the old graphics and new. You know, that's very much a thing these days in some remasters. That would have been really nice, you know, but it's obviously not here in this game. I do have to say as well that there's something here that I noticed, and I would like to know if any other people like noticed this. But the game doesn't look as fluid in motion, you know, like as the original does. The original very much is like easy on the eyes, like when you're doing the execution moves and stuff, you can see everything clearly, it runs lovely, but it's not my PC or anything running this game bad, but something doesn't look right about Ryu Hayabusa moving in motion. When you're watching him decapitate the enemies and stuff, something is like no right about the motion. It's not moving as smooth, no 100% as smooth as I think it should be. And I don't know if that's a little bit of a day one problem or no, but I thought I would mention it. I feel like the game should be running a bit smoother in motion than it actually is here, and I'm not running into any frame drops. It's not that, it's something within the game itself, and I'm not entirely sure what it is. Something feels off. I would like to know if people also feel the similar way to me about this, but I just thought I would mention it. Obviously, I've been pretty negative throughout this video so far, and I hate that that is the case, you know, because this should be a really celebrated time for Ninja Gaiden fans. You know, I can't wait for Ninja Gaiden 4 still. I'm still really excited for that game. And I'm excited that this game still came out here. You know, there's still like some really good aspects of this game. At the end of the day, Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2 and Black 2 here are still a really good hack and slash game. It's just that in my opinion, it really sucks that it could have been even better if they had actually copied the original game Ninja Gaiden 2 and added that into what this game is. It would have just been better for everyone involved, I think, and it's a real shame that they didn't decide to do that. Are you still going to get a really good hack and slash game out of this experience? 100%. I genuinely believe that this is like better than 90% of games released today still, because it's still a Ninja Gaiden game, you know, and it's still Ninja Gaiden Sigma 2, which is a good game at the end of the day. Absolutely. It's no like it's a bad game. Like I say, it's just unfortunate that it could have been better, and I kind of hate when something is kind of like saying that it's like the best version of the game when I genuinely don't believe that's the case. It still eludes me to this day, and I don't know the ins and outs of it, why Xbox One and the Xbox Series X have Ninja Gaiden Black Original available on that machine and Ninja Gaiden 2 Original released on it through backwards compatibility, and it's not emulation that's running for those versions of the games. Those are like remastered versions of the original, so they exist in some form, and it's on an Xbox right now. But for some reason, we can't get like that version in here. It just makes absolutely no sense to me, and I would like to wonder why. Why can't they do this? Like, what's the problem? It just feels like a lost opportunity for what could have been one of the best Ninja Gaiden games ever released. Guys, like I say, I don't want this to be like completely negative or anything, but I can't help but be disappointed at the outcome of this game today, just a little bit, because I can't help but feel like, you know, I'd rather just be playing Ninja Gaiden 2 Original on the Series X right now rather than this version, because I still feel like I would get a better experience out of it than I would this game at the end of the day, even though this game's still cool. And I genuinely still recommend it to everybody who has never played a Ninja Gaiden game before, because you will have a ton of fun with this game, man. And I really can't wait for Ninja Gaiden 4. I would love to hear other people's opinions on what they think about this release today. Are you guys enjoying it? Do you guys kind of feel a little bit similar to me, like a bit of a wasted opportunity, you know? But at the end of the day, it's still a good game. And I've been having a ton of fun as well with the extra characters that this version of the game has, like Ayani. They're still pretty cool to play at the end of the day. Even though their segments aren't too long, it's cool that they're still there. I would love to hear people's opinions on this. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.